Today on Libertas video, we finish our Modern Assassin Gauntlet. Welcome to Libertas Video, the channel dedicated to encouraging, entertaining, and inspiring you through costume and prop builds and reviews. Now, everything that we're going to be using to finish up this gauntlet will be linked in the description below. Of course, those will be affiliate links, so if you use them, we will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. Additionally, you can always connect with us on Instagram and Facebook at Libertas Video. Now, in the previous video, we went through this whole process of pulling this gauntlet together to make it functional. Now we are going to be painting our hidden blade to make sure it looks a little bit more modern. So to finish up this entire modern gauntlet build, once again, we are using the Spirit Halloween Altair hidden blade. It's a very generic looking hidden blade, so that's why we're using it for this project. Now the silver would work just fine with this particular gauntlet design. However, I'm going to be doing a little bit of painting to show you guys that you can update it if you want to, fairly simply. Of course, the first thing to do is take apart the hidden blade. I'm going to be really careful with the screws. You just don't want to strip them out since it's metal on plastic. It would be very easy to strip out the plastic, so just take your time and be careful. Also take note of where everything is set inside of this hidden blade so that you can put it back together pretty easily. Always is a good idea, maybe take a quick picture with your cell phone just so you have some reference. And then put those springs in a safe place. All right, so I'm gonna start painting, and once again, I am using my black heavy-bodied acrylic paint. I'm painting it with a brush to start off with. Unfortunately, I did get some buildup with my paint. I just put too much material on, so I ended up using this nail file to sand it down just a little bit. It does showcase that you could use the file to create that worn edge look if you wanted to, but I'm just smoothing out some of this paint so that I can go back over it again. And then of course, to go over it again, I'm using a slightly different technique. I'm using my sponge brush and I'm just kind of dabbing it with the paint. Now what that's going to do is give it a slightly different texture. What I feel is more of a powder coat. It's not exactly that, but that's the kind of feel that I'm getting instead of a brushed look. Once dry, I'm going to be going back with a heavy-bodied white paint to do the accents. Now you could do whatever you want here. You could add in those circles like we did on the gauntlet to give it that kind of interesting texture. You could go ahead and just keep this completely black to go for that stealth look, but I'm going with these white accents. Some people might not like that look, however, it is inspired by what you see in the concept art for the modern hidden blade, so that's why I'm going with it. But once again, you can do whatever you want. I'm just being very careful. I'm starting off with my stiff bristle brush to get the edges of the accents down. And then I'm also using the sponge brush to get that nice texture as well. That's not the brush texture. As I'm waiting for the white to dry, I'm going back on the blade with a darkened version of my heavy-bodied silver. Once again, I just take a regular black acrylic paint, mix it up with a heavy-bodied silver, and then I use it with my stiff bristle brush again. What I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit of that paint, wiping most of it away, and then I kind of drag that brush across the hard edges just to get a little bit of that highlight. It's not going to be really well seen on the video here, but as you rotate the blade back and forth in the light, it captures that little glint, kind of hints at that metallic effect. So that's why I'm doing it here. Sometimes it's these little details that really pull everything together. And then I'm also adding just a little bit of battle scarring onto the blade, just to give it that a little bit extra history. Now, of course, with all of your painting, it would be a good idea to seal it up. You could use a matte varnish to give you more of that matte look, or we can use a glossy varnish to give the effect of a clear coat. Just depends on what you want to go with, but it will make sure that your paint doesn't chip or scratch away. And once everything is dry, the whole goal is to reattach it just the way we took it all apart. Now, I had a little bit of difficulty because I did this a few days apart, so yeah, I had to really work at this blade design again. However, what I found is there is a channel that is built in for where the spring goes. So instead of trying to kind of push this spring back together and try to finagle everything and snap the casing back on, what you can do is put everything back together, keep that spring nice and elongated,
and then put your housing on top. Now that's going to leave the blade outside of the housing. Then you kind of just lift up near that front edge with the spring on the blade and just slightly push it in. What this would allow it to do is retain its shape on that track. So once your blade is all assembled, you can just flip it over and reattach the screws. Now once again, just be really careful. You don't want to strip out the plastic, but at the same time, I actually had it where I tightened down the housing a little too much and it prevented the blade release from working properly. So I had to just slightly back out those screws just enough to get the blade working properly again, and everything was good to go. Now to attach the hidden blade to the gauntlet, I am just reusing the straps that were supplied with the Spirit Halloween gauntlet that the hidden blade went on originally. I had this great idea that I was going to be able to strap those Velcro straps around my arm and kind of give it another place for the hidden blade to attach to, give a little bit more extra structure. However, those straps just weren't long enough for my arm, so I ended up just tying it down on the inside. And it's not the best looking solution, and there's plenty of other ways that you could go about this, but that's what I did, and it works just fine for me.
One final thing that you can do if you don't want your hidden blade to just be push activated and you want it to be wrist activated, there is a way to do that. It involves drilling through this push button and attaching with some fishing wire or string to a ring. That will make it so when you flick your wrist, your blade shoots out. I've done it in the past with my old Ezio hidden blades, and a lot of you have been reaching out to me as a recommendation on doing it with this particular hidden blade. I'm just not going forward with it on this particular project, but if you want to get more information on how to do that, I'll link in the description below where you can find it. I know Amun-Ra has done it. He's probably the first one to do it, but Hammer and Anvil Props has also done a few videos where they have that modification as well. So I'll put a link in the description below where you can find that process. And that's it. We have finally finished our modern Assassin's Creed gauntlet and our hidden blade. Really happy with how this whole project turned out. Of course, we hit some snags along the way. Some things just didn't turn out the way we anticipated them turning out, but that is now a great opportunity to continue to learn, hone our craft, and to apply these things again in the future as we progress with our prop making skills. So hopefully you have been learning something through this entire build project. I know I have, and if you've been following along and you're excited about what we've been doing here, go ahead and hit that thumbs up and subscription button if you're not already subscribed to this channel. If you've been following along and you are excited about what you've been producing, go ahead and reach out to us on Instagram or Facebook at Libertas Video. We definitely love to see how your gauntlets are turning out. As always, the links to what we've been using in this particular video will be linked in the description. But that's going to do it for us here. We'll see you on the next Libertas video.